Hello, friends. Today we are working, or this week we are working with fiction and we are working with story elements. Our objective is I can describe in depth how a character's words and actions create the problem and the events in the story. So, what you're going to do this week is you're going to read a few stories and you're going to be talking about all the different story elements. So, when we're talking about story elements, it's basically like the parts of the story. So during a fiction story, you know you're reading fiction if there are characters, if there's setting, if there's problem, solution. Different than a nonfiction setting where a nonfiction story where you're mostly just getting facts and information. So if you look over here at the flow map, it says character, who the story revolves around. First person is where the narrator is telling their own story, and third person is where the narrator is telling somebody else's story. The setting is when and where the story takes place. And obviously, there can be more than one character. There are secondary characters, but the primary character, the main character, how we like to say it, is usually the one that's going to grow in the end, change somehow in the end, facing some sort of problem, which brings us down to the problem. There are multiple problems in a story. Most stories have a bunch of minor problems, but there's usually one big major event, the main problem of the story. Sometimes we call that like the climax. Some of the big questions: how does the character get to the problem? How does the character act or feel about the problem? And then there are events. Events are when the character faces a problem, something that happens, something that changes the course of the story. So, what motivates your character to face the problem, and how does your character feel about facing the problem? And then the solution. Sometimes you hear solution, sometimes you hear resolution. And that's how the character obviously solves the problem, or how somebody else in the story solves the problem. Usually it is the main character, though. How does the character feel about solving the problem? And what will the character do now that the problem is solved? Does this character learn a lesson? Do they change, grow? What kind of happens to resolve the whole story? So what you need to do is click on the video right here. It's a quick review on story elements. Once you are done, you're going to click on this link right here, Story Elements Quiz. It is interactive. You're going to take a practice quiz. Once you are done with that, you're going to go to McGraw-Hill and you are going to read My Big Brother Johnny Caw. And then you are going to fill out the story elements page. You're going to write about the characters, the setting, and the problem and solution. And on this page right here is where you will enter the text. Characters, you can just list them out. Setting, problem, solution, all needs to be in complete sentences. Okay, and your exit ticket for today, right here. If you notice, it says answer in 2 to 4 complete sentences. I don't want any just single words. What was the name of the people who moved out west? What did they do when they moved out west? There are 2 questions here, so it should be easily done in at least 2 sentences. And then reread the paragraph. What does the paragraph tell you about Johnny? How would you describe Johnny? Going back to that first page, what were his motivations? How was he feeling? Describe Johnny based on this paragraph. Once you are done with that, you can go ahead and submit.